does it really take to be a modern professor? Someone who's actually preparing students for the world we live in right now. Well, today, we're going to deconstruct a pretty powerful model for that, the Scholar Practitioner. And we're going to use the career of one particular educator as our case study to see what the future of teaching might just look like.
I mean, this is the big question. Things change constantly. So, how can a traditional university classroom possibly keep pace? There's this huge gap that seems to get wider every single day. So, how do we fix that?
Well, the answer might just be in this new kind of educator, the Scholar Practitioner. Now, this isn't just a teacher. Think of them as an industry pro who's also a serious academic. They've got one foot in the world of theory and another firmly planted in the real world of practice. They bring both of those worlds into the classroom, and that's the idea we're going to explore. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with that main problem, what we're calling the modern professor's dilemma. Then we'll break down this model into three key pillars: the scholar, the practitioner, and the mentor. And finally, we'll put it all back together and see what it all means for the future. All right, let's dive into our first pillar, the scholar. Because let's be real, without a rock-solid academic foundation, none of the other stuff really matters. This is the bedrock. This is where all the credibility starts. So for our case study, it all begins with a PhD in mass communication. But here's what's so cool. Look at her dissertation topic. She researched how we all got our news and information during the pandemic. I mean, that's not some dusty old academic theory. That's analyzing a massive real-world crisis as it was unfolding. Talk about relevance. But you know, a PhD is really just the ticket to the dance. The real work is actually contributing to the field. And publishing in a Scopus Q1 journal, that's basically the major leagues of academic research. It means the best of the best have vetted your work. So when you're publishing studies about TikTok or peer reviewing for other top scholars, you're not just a spectator, you are actively shaping the conversation. And this, right here, illustrates the point perfectly. On one hand, you have a certificate from the Web of Science Academy. That's the gold standard for traditional, rigorous academic review. But right next to it, a certification in AI and prompt engineering for ChatGPT. It's the perfect blend of old school standards and new school tech. It's exactly what a modern scholar needs. Okay, so the academic side is solid. Check. But here's the million-dollar question. It's one thing to know the theory, but can you actually do the thing? That brings us right to pillar 2, the practitioner. This is where that hands-on, real-world experience becomes the most powerful teaching tool you can have. We're talking about more than 20 years of professional experience. Just let that sink in. This is not somebody who just read about the media industry in a book. This is someone who was out there, in the trenches, living it for decades. And just look at these roles. An art director at a major ad agency, a supervisor for university Mac labs for 17 years, dealing with the exact tech students need to learn, and she even worked on a project that won a Guinness World Record. How cool is that? This isn't just a list on a resume, it's a treasure chest of real stories and experiences to share in class. This chart just makes it crystal clear. The most important thing here is that she's an expert in the exact software her students are going to need to get a job. Adobe Creative Suite, Final Cut Pro, and yeah, even the cutting-edge stuff like AI and VR. This means she's not just teaching them what to do, she's showing them how to do it. So this brings us to our third and honestly our most important pillar, the mentor. This is where the scholar and the practitioner finally merge. Because at the end of the day, all that knowledge and all that experience doesn't mean a thing if you can't translate it into actual success for your students. Her philosophy is so simple, but so powerful. Learning by doing. In her world, the classroom isn't just a lecture hall. It's a lab. It's a studio. It's a place where you get your hands dirty. You experiment. You build things. You maybe even fail a little. And you create. It's where theory gets put into practice every single day. And the results? Well, they really do speak for themselves. You can draw a direct line from her classes to what her students are achieving. They're not just acing tests. They're winning first place at international film festivals for making VR documentaries. They're taking home first prize in research competitions for 3 straight years. This is what happens when your mentor knows both the theory and how to execute. And you can bet the students feel the difference. An 85% satisfaction rate. That is incredibly high. It tells you that students feel engaged, they feel supported, and they feel like they're being prepared for the real world. And it's not just the students saying it. The university itself totally gets it. A quote like this from her department chair isn't just a nice compliment. It's an official stamp of approval on the whole model. Applied learning, digital fluency, innovation, those are the magic words that prove this whole thing works. But maybe this is the most important piece of evidence of all. Hearing it straight from a former student. A great mix of theory and practice. That's it, right there. That's the secret sauce. This professor wasn't just teaching a subject. She was inspiring a passion for it by making it real and making it understandable. So let's bring it all home. We've looked at the 3 pillars. What does this future-proof educator actually look like when we put all the pieces together? It really boils down to this simple 3-step recipe. First, you start with a strong foundation of academic rigor. That's the scholar. Second, you layer on years and years of real-world industry experience. That's the practitioner. And third, you fuse them together to become a mentor who can create real, measurable success for students.
But, and this is a big but, this model is not a one-and-done thing. It absolutely requires a relentless commitment to always be learning. I mean, over 140 professional workshops, getting new certifications in AI just to stay current, that's the level of dedication it takes. To stay relevant for your students, you have to stay relevant yourself, period. Which brings us to our big final question. We've seen how powerful this model can be in a field that's changing every day, like digital media. But could this be the blueprint for the future of all higher education? Is the era of the purely academic professor, the one who only knows theory, coming to an end? Now that is something to think about.